Hello friends, welcome to Study Bus. So today we are having another special guest on our talk show, चहक अग्रवाल, जिन्होंने आज 3 months की preparation में score किया 98.10 percentile in CAT and 249 in NMAT, and right now she has converted IIM Indore, and she is someone who is coming from a commerce background, जिन्होंने law किया. क्योंकि काफी सारे लोगों को ये लगता है कि यार अगर हम CAT एग्जाम की बात करें तो इंजीनियर्स के लिए इजी होता है, but how did चहक crack this particular exam in just 3 months of preparation? बीइंग फ्रॉम कॉमर्स बैकग्राउंड. तो आज की इस पूरे डिस्कशन में बहुत सारे इंटरेस्टिंग इनसाइट्स मिलेंगे, शायद आप लोग को काफी कुछ सीखने को मिलेगा. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कांग्रेचुलेशन चेक.
Thank you, sir. It's great to be here, actually.
Great. How is the feeling getting into IIM Indore, one of the Blackie? How are you feeling right now?
It's great, actually. I'm excited and nervous at the same time because MBA is hectic. It's difficult. It's a lot of competition, but I'm excited. I'm excited to delve into new things, new opportunities, and to meet a lot of people. Yeah.
ग्रेट चेक. तो चेक, सबसे पहले फॉर द ऑडियंस, क्या आप थोड़ा बहुत अपने प्रोफाइल के बारे में बताओगे? व्हाट डिड यू डू एंड व्हाट आर योर 10 12 ग्रेजुएशन स्कोर्स?
Sure, sir. So I completed law from National University Jodhpur in 2021. I had a CGPA of 8 out of 10. In 10th, I had a 9.8 CGPA, and in 12th, I had a score of 94.6%, and I had a specialization of commerce maths.
ग्रेट. तो चेक, आपने लॉ से कैसे एमबीए का ट्रांजिशन लिया? बिकॉज समवेयर डाउन द लाइन, मतलब जनरली ऐसा होता है, इफ समवन हैज डन एलएलबी तो उसके बाद वो उसी में एलएलएम करता है या जुडिशरी की तरफ देखता है. तो हाउ डिड यू थिंक कि यार मुझे अब एमबीए की तरफ जाना है फ्रॉम लॉ बैकग्राउंड?
I think one of my main reasons was that I wanted to switch careers, and I realized that it's important to upskill yourself or to have that qualification or education so that companies or people give you that opportunity to work with them. And I realized that MBA opens that doors for me, to switch careers and actually work at a good position. So when I realized that law was not something that I wanted to do in the future, because when you're 18 and you're choosing a career, you really don't know, or you're really not sure about what you want to do with your life. So yeah, switching careers was one of the main reasons I would say that I pursued MBA.
दिस इज एब्सोल्युटली ट्रू एज वेल, एंड ये काफी ज्यादा लोगों के लिए हेल्पफुल है बिकॉज एमबीए एज अ लॉन्च पैड भी बहुत ज्यादा लोगों के लिए काम करता है. बिकॉज समटाइम व्हाट हैपेंस दैट वी डिसाइड वन करियर ऑप्शन जहां पे हम लोग एक टेक रोल में जॉब कर रहे हैं या आईटी रोल में जॉब कर रहे हैं, बट इवेंचुअली वी रियलाइज नहीं, वी आर पीपल्स पर्सन और वी वांट टू एंटर इनटू मैनेजमेंट, एंड दैट इज वेयर एमबीए कम्स इनटू पिक्चर, एंड दैट प्लेज अ वेरी गुड कैटलिस्ट. सो दिस इज अ वेरी गुड डिसीजन. तो चेक, कमिंग टू योर एमबीए जर्नी, you said that you prepared for CAT in 3 months. So when was the first time you started preparing for CAT? And when you decided कि मुझे CAT के लिए जाना है, what was your first step? How did you start your preparation?
I think in 2022 beginning, I started to, in 2021 and I had left my job. So in 2022, after a while, I started to figure out, I wanted to figure out what I really want to do again. And I think around April or May, I thought that, MBA is something that I can pursue seriously and it would give me a lot of good opportunities. So I started looking towards that seriously in July. And I didn't think I had enough time. So I thought I would just give NMAT, I thought I just had enough time to prepare seriously for NMAT and not CAT, because that would be too difficult for me. But when August came, I thought, the preparation is almost the same. I just have to work a little harder. So yeah, I started preparing properly for CAT in August.
That is a very interesting perspective, क्योंकि क्या होता है ना, एक नरेशन है, एक परसेप्शन है अबाउट कैट एग्जाम कि आपको 1 year डिवोट करना ही करना है, तभी जाके क्रैक होगा. एंड इन अ लॉट ऑफ वीडियोस आई से दैट कैट इज नॉट अबाउट द नंबर ऑफ मंथ, बट इट इज मोर अबाउट नंबर ऑफ आवर्स यू पुट इन. सो मेरा ये एनालिसिस कहता है कि यार अगर आप कैट जैसे एग्जाम को टारगेट करो, एंड अगर आपका एक एवरेज प्रोफाइल है, एंड इफ यू आर एबल टू स्पेंड 500 आवर्स ऑन योर प्रिपरेशन, दैट इज मोर देन इनफ. सो अगर आप जुलाई अगस्त से स्टार्ट कर रहे हो, प्रोबेबली आपके नंबर ऑफ आवर्स इंक्रीज हो गए होंगे पर डे, बट यू कैन स्टिल क्रैक इट. तो ये एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग है फॉर ऑल द एस्पिरेंट्स कि अगर आप जून जुलाई अगस्त में भी स्टार्ट कर रहे हो, बट यू आर रेडी टू डिवोट योर नंबर ऑफ आवर्स कि हाँ यार मैं डेली 6 hours 7 hours लगाने को तैयार हूं. सो आई बिलीव यू कैन स्कोर समथिंग लाइक व्हाट चहक हैज स्कोर्ड, which is 98.10 percentile, and
yeah,
this is amazing.
I think it's important to analyze what you're good at, what you're not good at, and where you want to work on, because when you have a short period of time, you can't spend too much time, just by hit and trial method or all of that. You have to get serious about analyzing your strengths, your weaknesses, and then work towards that with a dedicated plan.
Correct. So, Chehek, deeping dive into the same preparation strategy, would you like to throw a little bit light about कि how did you prepare for verbal? क्या आपकी पूरी strategy रही? Did you read a lot या फिर essays करे या mocks करे? How did you tackle RCs? So, what was your complete strategy for verbal?
So, sure, sir. So, verbal was one of my most comfortable areas, I would say. Being a lawyer, I think you have a little grasp on language, I would say. And I had a reading habit and I had a writing habit. So, it was kind of a more comfortable area for me. Having said that, RCs, para jumbles, para summaries is difficult to crack. So, what I would do was I would, even if it was an area of strength, I would not neglect it. I would practice every day, maybe 2 RCs every day, 4, 5 para jumbles, 4, 5 para summaries. So I would work towards that. And I didn't use any reference material for verbal per se. I used one book for vocab, which was Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis. So I used that. Apart from that, I just solved a lot of material, you'd say past CAT papers and all of that. And I read newspapers, essays when I could. So I think a lot of that helps with speed, firstly, reading speed. Then it helps with how you comprehend things. So when you're reading RCs, you're able to comprehend it better and in a faster way. So I think those are the two most important things. So verbal, you'd say speed and accuracy.
Great. So apart from verbal, check, because when we come from commerce background, तो बहुत ज़्यादा एक apprehension होता है कि हम LRDA और quant section को कैसे deal करेंगे, क्योंकि again generally एक notion है कि engineers के लिए easy है, वो decode जल्दी से कर लेते हैं. So how did you prepare for LRDA section? What was your strategy for LRDA as a section?
LRDI, so I would say, was the weakest section for me, and I was most scared for that section because there was a time where I could solve barely 1 or 2 questions from a set. That was the most that I could do. Reasoning was a little easier for me. For example, sets of arrangements, seating arrangements, all of that was a little easier for me. But apart from that, DI and the rest of LR, caselets, and all of that was really difficult for me. So what I did was I set up a base by attending lectures. And you for LRDI, the most important thing is you learn how to approach a question. Which question you should actually attempt in a paper, which question you should leave. And I think that is what I learned the most in the advanced workshops that I attended. I think LRDI and cons was sorted for me because of those 9 to 12 classes, or I should say 9 to 1 classes, because I really understood how to approach a question. And when someone is solving it with you, it gives you more confidence to not give up on a question and actually familiarize yourself with all the patterns there is for LRDI. So I think the most important things is you get acquainted with the approach for a question and you learn which question to attempt and which question to leave for LRDI.
एंड दैट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग चेक. तो आपके साथ भी ऐसा हुआ होगा ना कि जब आपने इनिशियली एलआरडी के सेट सॉल्व करे होंगे तो आपको भी वो 30 मिनट्स 40 मिनट्स लगते हैं, क्योंकि जब मैं इतने सारे कैट एस्पिरेंट्स को कोच करता हूं तो एक उनका क्वेश्चन होता है, सर हमसे वो 10 मिनट में क्वेश्चन हो ही नहीं रहा, हमें तो 30 मिनट्स लग रहे हैं, 40 मिनट्स लग रहे हैं. बट आई ऑलवेज टेल देम कि आप अभी सॉल्व करो एंड इवेंचुअली द टाइम विल रिड्यूस. सो आपके साथ भी ये प्रॉब्लम आई होगी इनिशियली?
Yes, sir, definitely. Like even when I started the CAT advanced workshops, I think I was still not ready for the advanced questions. I was still at a very basic level for LRDI at least. So even though like we used to solve questions in 10-15 minutes in class, but I would still, go back and resolve all of those questions. And I used to take a lot of time. I used to like take 30 minutes, 40 minutes. But what I understood after solving all those questions is the approach. You develop that approach and then you learn which questions you are it's your strength. You can really solve those questions in the paper. Then you build that speed and then you build that accuracy to actually solve those questions in 10 minutes.
Great. So ये एक बहुत ही important learning है that there are some things which will take time. तो अगर आप आज से अपनी तैयारी स्टार्ट कर रहे हो तो ये मत सोचो कि मुझे डे 1 पे ही सारे क्वेश्चन सही कर देने, मेरे से नहीं हो रहा तो मैं कर नहीं पाऊंगा. It's not like that. It is more about the consistency and the discipline you follow, and eventually you will see exponential improvements. And Chahak is a testimony for that. So Chahak, taking it forward, how did you tackle quants? Being a commerce student, क्वांट को कैसे हम लोगों ने डील किया है, किस तरह से हमने, क्या आपने मॉड्यूल वाइज किया था, अरिथमेटिक, अलजेब्रा, ज्योमेट्री, या फिर व्हाट वाज योर प्लान ऑफ एक्शन फॉर द क्वांट सेक्शन?
So I would say, I think I would suggest for like aspirants who are preparing for CAT, I think it's important to cover all the portion first for cons rather than, perfecting each and everything. Or I can't just take up arithmetic or algebra and think that, I'll solve everything and I'll get perfect at it and then go on to other modules, because you have to first cover the course, right? So you cover the portion first. I made a separate notebook for concepts. I wrote down all the concepts and important. For example, you're taking time, speed, distance, so there is a set of questions you'll get boats, you'll get trains and all of that. So I wrote down important sets of patterns, specific patterns, and how do you solve it, because when you're actually revising it or when you're actually solving questions, it will help you out a lot. So that separate notebook for cons or important questions is very important. It will take time, but it will really help you out in the end for cons, I would say.
ग्रेट. सो हर एक टॉपिक पे आप कितने क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस कर रहे थे? लेट्स से यू हैव टेकन परसेंटेजेस और टाइम स्पीड डिस्टेंस, तो हर एक टॉपिक पे कमांड बनाने के लिए मोर और लेस हाउ मेनी क्वेश्चंस वर यू सॉल्विंग?
So I think I've solved so many questions that I have lost count of how many questions I solved, but I went through the difficulty level. Like I used to solve basic questions first, then LOD2, LOD3. And I think it's not important how many questions you solve. It's important that the questions you're solving, you actually understand the trick you are using to solve a question, because you can apply that same trick in a lot of questions going forward. So I think more than the number of questions, yes, the number of questions is important for speed, I would say, and building your confidence up. But it's also important to notice where you're making a mistake in the questions you're solving.
All right. So यहाँ पे चेक कमिंग टू द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट सेगमेंट, एंड ये एक ऐसा पोर्शन है जहाँ पे ना स्टूडेंट्स बहुत ज्यादा एप्रिहेंसिव रहते हैं, दैट इज द कैट मॉक्स, राइट? क्योंकि जब एक एस्पिरेंट अपनी प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट करता है ना, तो होता क्या है कि उसको सबसे ज्यादा डर लगता है मॉक टेस्ट से, क्योंकि व्हेनेवर यू सी दोस नंबर्स ना कि वो कम मार्क्स आ रहे हैं, आपकी परसेंटाइल नहीं आ रही, यू टेंड टू गेट डीमोटिवेटेड. एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द एस्पिरेंट्स क्या मिस्टेक करते हैं, वो 2-3 मॉक्स देके या तो छोड़ देंगे, या फिर वो लोग क्या करेंगे, दे विल नॉट प्रॉपर्ली एनालाइज देम, एंड इवेंचुअली होगा क्या कि उनकी पूरी प्रिपरेशन हैम्पर हो जाएगी. वो बोलेंगे सर हम मॉक देंगे सिलेबस खत्म होने के बाद. एंड यू बीइंग अ कैट जिसने 3 मंथ्स में प्रिपरेशन करी, आपने मॉक्स भी करे, कॉन्सेप्ट भी करे, तो हाउ वाज योर मॉक स्ट्रेटजी? आपने कितने नंबर ऑफ मॉक्स करे, और आपने भी क्या वो डाउनफॉल देखा था कि नंबर ही नहीं आ रहे हैं, एंड यू टेंड टू लूज योर मोटिवेशन, यार नहीं हो पाएगा? सो व्हाट वाज योर कंप्लीट थॉट प्रोसेस एंड व्हाट इज योर कंप्लीट टेक ऑन द कैट मॉक्स?
So I think I would like give credit to one of my college seniors who's actually must have passed out from Ahmedabad right about now. But he once told me that you should give one mock before you start preparing for CAT, so that you'll know your natural or current acumen for different sections. So I think I gave one mock before I started preparing for CAT, and then I noticed that I was actually a little comfortable with verbal, and I could solve the most basic or easier questions for cons, but I had to really work for the advanced questions. And for LRD, I had to put in a lot of work. So I gave around, I think, 40 to 50 mocks in total. I think there were days when I was giving 2 mocks a day also. But I think more than giving mocks, it's okay if you give lesser number of mocks. But what's important is you go back and you analyze or you resolve the entire paper that you've done, the questions that you could not solve in time or the questions you got stuck on. So a few things that I analyzed was what kind of time I was taking on questions, what kind of questions I couldn't solve. And sometimes what will happen is there was a section that you could do really well in the earlier mocks, but in the coming mocks you start doing not so well in those sections. So you kind of tend to get disheartened by that, but I would say just stick to it, because there were times when I was scoring like around 90 percentile just a few days before CAT also. But it's important to not get disheartened by it, because it's okay and it happens with everyone, I'd say.
So what is the lowest you have scored in your CAT mock?
So there were like, I'd say like I scored in like 70 percentiles also. That bad, because sometimes what happens is when you get stuck on a question, I used to do that in LRDI a lot. I used to spend the whole timeline for that section in one question itself, because I was so sure that I can do this, that I would spend that entire thing or entire time on just one question and couldn't do anything in the rest of the section. So I used to do that a lot in other sections also. I used to spend a lot of time on questions that I'd actually should have left and moved on. So it's important to segregate your or compartmentalize. If your verbal didn't go well, don't carry that forward to other sections, right? Forget about that section and just focus on the section that you're solving right now. So I think that's important when you solve mocks or actually for CAT also.
So this is a very important learning for all the students. Thousands of students are watching this video. यार आपके मॉक में कम स्कोर आएंगे, ठीक है, मॉक में आपका कम स्कोर भी आएगा, आपका 60 परसेंटाइल 70 परसेंटाइल 30 40 आएगा, बट इफ यू बिलीव इन द प्रोसेस यू विल डेफिनेटली सी द प्रोग्रेस. सो दैट इज व्हाट यू कैन लर्न फ्रॉम चहक एज वेल. ऐसा नहीं है कि 3 मंथ्स है तो उन्होंने मॉक नहीं दिए. शी हरसेल्फ टोल्ड कि 50 मॉक्स उन्होंने लिखे हैं, और मेरा आपको रिकमेंडेशन है एटलीस्ट 20-25 मॉक्स आपको देने चाहिए. एंड दिस इज वन प्रैक्टिस आई आल्सो फॉलो इन माय क्लासेस. व्हेनेवर वी स्टार्ट आवर क्लासेस, सबसे पहले आपको एक डायग्नोसिस मॉक देना होता है, सो दैट एटलीस्ट यू अंडरस्टैंड वेयर डू यू स्टैंड, आप कहां स्टैंड करते हो, कौन से पेपर के लिए यू आर साइनिंग अप फॉर. And that is a very helpful technique. So this is one important learning which every MBA aspirant should draw. Check, coming to the next point, like you joined study bus for the live classes. What was the study bus role in your score, or how did it help or add on in your complete preparation journey?
So I would say when I joined study bus, I had reached I think 91 percentile, but picking myself and I'd hit a plateau. I was not able to score more, because you can score till 91 percentile by solving the easy to moderate questions. You can do that well, but then if you want to pick yourself up from that percentile and go beyond 95 96, then you actually need to work on advanced questions and concepts and all of that. So I think study bus played a very very important role for me in that, because I was not confident with the speed that I was solving cons LRDI with. I was not confident in the advanced questions. So when you used to solve those questions with us, it did it did a lot of things for me. First, it helped me with my speed limit, because I knew that I had a clock on those questions. So one, it helped with speed. Secondly, when a teacher is solving those questions with you, he or she does not only tell you the solutions, but explains them, and also explains where you could go wrong in the question, right? Where you could go wrong in the approach. So I think that helped me a lot. And what I also did was I used to go back, and I remember you telling us to solve the entire question set the next day again. And that really helps you out, because you realize that just solving it once is not enough. You have to solve it on your own again and again, so that you are confident with it and you actually know the concepts in and out.
Chalo, we are glad that we could play a part in your success journey. Check, coming to the D day, जब आपका exam था, what was your mindset? And when you started your exam, was it going as per your expectation, the verbal LRDA quant section, or there were ups and downs during that exam scenario as well?
So I was, to be honest, surprisingly calm before the exam. On the day of the exam, I could see a lot of people, revising at the end moment. When you're standing in the center, when you're waiting in the line, people are just revising. They have books, they have formula books and all of that. But for me, what worked was I stopped giving mocks a day or two before the exam, because when you don't score well in those mocks just a day or two before the exam, it makes you really nervous, and it can just not work well for your mental state before the exam. So I was surprisingly calm. I definitely had my ups and downs during the exam as well. So I was really confused while I was solving RCs in the paper, because I was getting confused between two options. I was eliminating two options, but I was getting confused between two options. But what I did was I did not over attempt. What worked for me was I attempted questions that I was really sure of, and I did not take a lot of risks. So I did not get a lot of negative marking in that. That was why, because I was able to, score well. I was just focusing on, don't see what others are doing, don't see what their expressions are, don't see what they're preparing, because people will try to put you down. There were people who were asking each other, okay, what exams have you given, what results are you expecting, and all of that. But you just focus on your preparation, and focus on the section that you are doing. Don't think about the previous section that is gone. So just focus on the section that you're doing, take it question by question, and just think about those 2 hours, because those are really important.
And this is very important. And again, for all the viewers, CAT is not just about attempting the question. CAT is also about leaving the question. कौन से question आपको
Yeah,
नहीं
that's
करने हैं,
true.
and you have
That's
to
true.
learn कि आपको कौन से question pick करने हैं, कौन से आपको solve करने हैं. And बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि एक section अगर किसी का खराब हो जाता है तो वो next section पे affect करता है. And this is a
Yeah.
very important thing कि आप कभी भी ये मत सोचो कि अगर एक section खराब हो गया तो फिर आपका पेपर खराब हो जाएगा, because अगर आपका एक section difficult है वो सबके लिए difficult है. Think it like that and perform the best to your ability in the next section and then to the next section. That is the secret sauce to CAT. I believe that, Chahak, you have answered most of the question which CAT aspirants have, but still, like, if you go back in time and you have to advise yourself for your CAT preparation, because a lot of students are watching you, they are having this dream college, dream percentile you have achieved. So what are your tips for all the CAT aspirants जो next year इस exam को देने वाले हैं? What are the learnings in your whole journey which you would like to give yourself if you can go back in time?
So one, like it would be like not academically, but I would say take care of yourself physically and mentally. Even if you are studying 10 hours a day, it's important to take time for yourself and take care of yourself. Because like everyone says, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So, you know, if you get really exhausted by the time CAT comes up, you'll not be able to prepare well or give your best. So it's important to take care of yourself so that you're actually up to it when the exam comes on. And I think secondly, don't run after too many sources. Whichever coaching you take, whatever mocks you take, just focus on that and do that with sincerity instead of running after too many mocks, because there are too many resources available. You go on YouTube, you go on any other channel, there are too many resources available and too many good resources also. So don't get confused as to what you want to take. Whichever one you've taken, just believe in that and do with the material you have, because you'll run after too many sources, you'll get confused, and by the time you figure out your plan or your daily plan of action, it will be too late. So I would say those things are really important.
Great, Jack. That is very interesting and very insightful कि इतने सारे resources available हैं. Sometimes you become confused कि मैं क्या follow करूं. But whenever you join anywhere, whatever coaching you are following, whatever mentor you have, just trust them because they are doing this thing for years and years,
Yeah.
and they will do the good for you. And blindly follow, take the right decision, believe in the discipline, have that consistency, and you will achieve this dream school. So congratulations, Chahak, for scoring this amazing percentile.
Thank
Congratulations
you,
for
sir.
converting IIM Indore. And I wish कि और भी जो colleges आपके wait listed हैं, you get the best out of it and you make the best out of MBA. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
much, sir. Thank you for having me.